Okay, Janice, so what we're going to talk about is a little bit about roles and responsibilities. And the first thing I was going to ask you was about the current legislation on the yard. Do you know anything about it?
There's a Health and Safety at Work Act, 1974, I think it is. And that applies to employers and employees. And
in Stage 3 care, we expect a clear understanding of the role, rights and responsibilities of a groom, with reference to current legislation.
And have you seen this? Have you ever read it?
No, not all of it, but it is available online, I did find it.
From recognition of the importance of risk assessments, with some understanding of how to do them and what they really mean, to awareness of reporting of injuries, diseases or dangerous occurrences regulations, commonly known as RIDDOR. First aid requirements, safeguarding policies, data protection and employment rights.
Okay, Janice, so what I'd like you to do is go and select a double bridle and a saddle for this horse. All the equipment's outside. Okay.
Brilliant.
For the BHS Stage 3 assessment, you'll need to know how to tack up a horse specifically for flat work and jumping. This will include fitting a double bridle and dressage saddle and tacking up for either show jumping or cross country. We'll expect to see a deeper understanding of the importance of the suitability and fit of the tack than at Stage 2, and in particular the fit and removal of the double bridle.
Okay, Janice, happy?
Yep, I think so.
Okay, just talk me through what you're looking at for the fit of the double bridle.
So the first thing I'm looking at is the height of the bits in the mouth. Because there's two bits, you've got to adjust them slightly differently. So I'm looking at the bradoon to have 1.5 wrinkles sort of at the top of the lips. With the curb chain, I think this is probably a little bit loose. But when it comes into action, so when the rider takes up the contact on the reins and it comes to 45 degrees, so it does need to be a bit tighter, but some riders prefer it looser, some prefer it tighter, so I would check with the rider before I, when I take the horse to them.
Are you happy with what you said about the double bridle?
Yeah, I think
Yeah?
so.
Shall we just move on to the saddle?
Okay.
So if you want to just talk me through some of the fit of the dressage saddle that you were looking at.
Okay, so we want to check that it's clear of the withers. We've got a good 4 fingers in there. It's almost sitting up slightly too high off the withers. Because it's straight cut and it allows for the movement of the shoulder, you check down here, check that it's not pinching and it's too tight.
With the schooling bandages, which can be put on with or without padding underneath, we'll expect to see this done in a correct way. Rolling the bandage anti-clockwise on the left leg and clockwise on the right leg, so as to make sure the tension is maintained against the bony front of the leg rather than against the tendons at the back of the leg. Each layer of the bandage should overlap the previous one by roughly half, and the bandage should fit directly below the knee to around the fetlock joint.
Okay, Janice, so now we're going to get this horse ready to go cross country.
Okay.
So I'd like you to go and select a suitable bridle, saddle and a set of boots.
Okay.
Okay, all the equipment's outside.
Moving on to the cross country tack, we're looking for the groom to select the tack that they think is appropriate and then fit it and adjust it as needed. We'll want to see the saddle fitted initially without a saddle cloth, with the groom discussing the key checks that must be done when fitting a saddle. This should include reference to regular checks done by a registered saddle fitter and the challenges of young horses changing shape as they grow and develop muscle.
The saddle. Okay.
With the breastplate, we'll expect a good understanding of the pros and cons of different designs and sound reasoning for the selection the groom has made.
Just tell me a bit about the breastplate that you've chosen and the fit of that.
Okay, so this is a 5-point breastplate, which means it attaches in 5 different places basically. It's good for cross country because it really stops the saddle from sliding back as the horse is galloping. We're checking these pads here aren't sitting on any bony pits, and also that there's room for the horse to gallop and move, and it's a little bit snug here. It's sitting up.
So moving on to the boots, Janice.
Okay.
Tell me why you selected these boots and what do you think of the fit?
These are cross country boots, which means they've got the mesh here, so it allows airflow through them.
With the boots, again, we're looking for an appropriate selection and an awareness of the different types and the reasons for the differences in design.
Solid fence, there's a bit more protection there for them.
Okay, Janice, we're now going to have a chat about studs. Just tell me why we might use studs.
If you're riding on grass, could be competing, could be schooling, it can be a bit slippy, so it gives the horse some extra grip.
So why don't you just show me how you would actually put a stud in?
We'll expect the groom to know how to stud up a horse and to give a practical demonstration. If a suitable horse is available, this could be done for real. But if not, this would be a hands-on demonstration with the appropriate equipment and a shoe.
Okay, Janice, we're now going to talk about bits.
Okay.
So if you'd like to pick a bit for me that's in general use.
Okay, I'll go for this one.
Okay, so tell me a bit about the action and what type of bit is it?
This is a French link snaffle. It's got loose rings, so these move, which reduces the amount the horse can lean on it. So if the horse sort of leans on it a bit, they move. It's got the link in the middle, or the lozenge in the middle, which spreads the pressure over the tongue. It doesn't act quite so much as a nutcracker action.
We'll expect the groom to be familiar with the various bit types and how they work and when to use which type. To know, for example, a gag is not permitted under the British dressage rules.
Okay, Janice, so we're in the feed room, so we will be talking about feeding.
Okay.
And just to start off with, just talk me through some of the nutrients of a horse's diet.
Okay, so they need water. Most of their body is made up of water. All their cells, all their functions need water. They need carbohydrate, that supplies them with energy. Protein helps them with growth and repair, so if they've got any injuries or anything like that. Yes. They need a certain amount of fat in their diet as well. That helps them to absorb certain vitamins and minerals, and they need vitamins and minerals in their diet as well.
Okay.
Feeding is a key responsibility for a groom, so it's something that we want to explore in detail during the Stage 3 assessment. Our discussion could include the horse's diet and nutritional needs, types of forage and the importance of roughage, feeding routines, feeding horses with common health problems, and the use of supplements and factors that may influence the dietary planning.
Okay, so moving on from that, what sort of factors are we going to take into consideration when we're planning a horse's diet?
We'll also expect a groom to know how to assess a horse's condition using a body scoring system or a fat scoring scale. The BHS book, Complete Horsemanship Volume 3, has a lot of detailed information on equine nutrition and is a good way to prepare for this part of the assessment. It's also worth getting to know the different feeds on the market and their daily intake recommendations, and know how to use this to plan individual feeding programmes. Grooms play a major role in managing and supporting a horse's fitness programme, so we'll expect a good grasp of everything this entails, from recognition of how important it is for a horse to be fit for the job it's being asked to do, to understanding the purpose of a fitting programme and how it might be structured. You might, for example, talk about the need for the initial long, slow work before strengthening work starts, and then how to introduce the fast work. We'd expect you to give timescales for the progression through schooling, hill work, jumping, and where appropriate, interval training.
Okay, so what sort of factors would affect an individual horse's fitness programme?
And the reason why you're getting the horse fit, so if you're bringing a horse back from injury, you might have to spend longer walking him at the start, or maybe your vet might tell you what you need to do at the start. If you're just getting him fit for the season or an event season, the type of horse that you're getting fit as well, a cob horse or a heavyweight horse might take longer than possibly a thoroughbred horse.
We'll also want to discuss how you might assess the horse's fitness, how to care for the horse after strenuous work, and why and when you might use a horse walker.
Okay, so looking at this horse that we've got in front of us, I just want you to visually assess how fit this horse potentially could be.
Okay, so I'm going to stand back and look at him, just sort of taking an overall picture to see a little bit about maybe how his weight is. Go up to him, hello, good boy, and just sort of feel for any sort of muscle tone, feel where the muscle's built up.
We'll expect this discussion to include reference to checking for injury and monitoring the horse's cooling down and breathing and managing rehydration. Fitting is a vast subject and one where we can always be learning. Above all, what we're looking for here is a good basic knowledge and understanding on how to improve a horse's fitness.